Imagine waking up one morning to find the sky filled with massive alien ships. Monolithic, city-sized structures hovering over the world's major capitals. Their arrival was not a secret. It wasn't some hidden infiltration or slow assimilation. It was a spectacle, a deliberate show of force. The world's greatest telescopes had picked up anomalies weeks prior, strange gravitational distortions beyond Pluto, followed by the unmistakable presence of artificial objects accelerating toward our solar system at impossible speeds. The media went wild, governments scrambled, and militaries moved to high alert. But when they arrived, everything stopped. No war, no immediate destruction, just silence until their message came. The signal pulsed across every frequency, hijacking television broadcasts, radio signals, and even digital networks. A singular voice, deep and resonant, spoke in perfect English. "Kneel, and you shall be spared. Resist, and your world will burn." The demand wasn't just for compliance, it was for submission. A declaration that Earth, its people, and its history were irrelevant. To them, we were nothing more than another species to conquer, another civilization to be erased or enslaved. But they made a critical mistake. They assumed we would kneel. World leaders gathered in emergency summits, debating options. Some wanted to negotiate, to buy time. Others, particularly the superpowers, recognized the truth. There was no peace to be made. The invaders had come as rulers, not as diplomats. They had the power to dictate terms because they saw no threat in us. That perhaps was their greatest miscalculation, because if history has proven one thing, it's this: humanity does not bow, not to kings, not to tyrants, and certainly not to aliens. Yet, there was a grim reality to face. The technology these invaders wielded was centuries, perhaps millennia, ahead of anything Earth had. Their ships defied physics. Their weapons could wipe out entire cities in an instant, and their numbers were unknown. Humanity had unity and defiance. But was it enough? The answer would come in the days that followed, in a moment that would mark the beginning of the most significant war in human history. A war we never asked for, but one we would fight with everything we had. The first attack came without warning. No negotiations, no ultimatums beyond their initial demand. Just destruction. At exactly 12 or UTC, coordinated strikes obliterated Earth's military installations, air bases, naval fleets, missile silos. Hypersonic energy weapons reduced entire structures to molten slag in seconds. Satellites went dark. Communications collapsed. In less than an hour, every major military force on the planet had suffered devastating losses. Washington, Moscow, Beijing, London, every command center, every nerve hub of power was either disabled or destroyed. The message was clear. Resistance is futile. Bow or perish. But what the invaders failed to understand was that humanity has never been defined by its weapons. It has been defined by its will. Our history is not one of submission, but of defiance against overwhelming odds. Every empire that sought to dominate us had learned the same lesson. Humanity does not break. And so, even in the face of devastation, something remarkable happened. The survivors didn't surrender. They fought back. Governments had fallen into chaos, but military leaders, scientists, and resistance cells began coordinating in ways never seen before. The internet, though damaged, became a lifeline. Civilian hackers and rogue AIs helped restore lost communication channels. Underground bunkers housed what remained of the world's best minds, working on countermeasures. The first coordinated counterattack happened just 72 hours after the invasion began. They had expected an easy conquest. What they got instead was sheer, unrelenting human ingenuity. In South America, old missile silos long thought obsolete fired their payloads in a desperate attempt to strike enemy positions. The missiles were primitive compared to alien technology. But what mattered wasn't the weapons themselves. It was the unpredictability of human tactics. Swarm attacks, guerrilla warfare, EMP devices rigged from scavenged tech. Humanity didn't fight fair. In Africa and the Middle East, desert fighters who had spent generations in asymmetric warfare taught the world how to strike without being seen. In Russia, underground nuclear submarines still active beneath the ice launched their last payloads, forcing enemy ships to retreat from strategic locations. And then came the game changer. Something even the invaders didn't see coming. Humanity had always been on the brink of technological breakthroughs, and war has a way of accelerating innovation. Hidden deep in the labs of black-budget projects, scientists had been working on technologies long dismissed as science fiction. Quantum AIs, experimental railguns, reverse-engineered alien craft from past crashes. Now, with survival at stake, every secret project, every classified experiment was pushed into action. The first real victory came when a ragtag force of engineers, ex-military operatives, and scientists used an experimental railgun hidden in the Arctic to take down one of the invaders' warships. The moment it happened, the world realized something profound. They weren't invincible. The war was far from over, but for the first time since the invasion began, humanity had done the impossible. They had struck back. And now, with the realization that their enemy could bleed, the real war was about to begin. In the aftermath of the initial assaults, a remarkable transformation began to unfold across the globe. The devastation, instead of sowing division and despair, ignited a profound sense of unity among Earth's inhabitants. Historical animosities and geopolitical rivalries were set aside as humanity faced a common existential threat. This unprecedented solidarity became the cornerstone of the global resistance movement. Communication networks, though battered, were rapidly restored through the ingenuity of civilian tech experts and underground operatives. Encrypted channels buzzed with activity as strategies, resources, and intelligence were shared across continents. In makeshift war rooms from Tokyo to Toronto, leaders emerged, not always those with official titles, but individuals who inspired trust and action. Grassroots organizations, local militias, and seasoned military units coalesced into a cohesive force, bound by the singular goal of reclaiming their planet. Cultural barriers that once seemed insurmountable began to crumble. Language became less of a divide as technology facilitated real-time translation, and the shared experience of resistance fostered a new global identity. Traditions and customs were respected, but the focus remained steadfast on collaboration. In this crucible of conflict, humanity discovered strength in its diversity. Resource allocation was a monumental challenge. The invaders had targeted critical infrastructure, leading to shortages of food, medicine, and weaponry. Yet, adversity bred innovation. Communities reverted to sustainable practices. Urban gardens flourished in the shadows of ruined skyscrapers, and alternative energy sources were harnessed to power the resistance's needs. Bartering systems replaced traditional economies, and a culture of sharing and mutual aid took root. The arts, too, played a pivotal role. Music, literature, and visual arts became powerful tools of morale boosting and propaganda. Songs of defiance echoed in the streets, murals depicting human resilience adorned walls, and stories of heroism were shared to inspire those on the front lines. This cultural renaissance served as a reminder of what was at stake: the preservation of humanity's rich tapestry of experiences and expressions. As the resistance gained momentum, it became evident that this was not just a battle for survival, but a fight to protect the very essence of what it meant to be human. The invaders sought to homogenize and control, but in response, Earth's inhabitants showcased the beauty of their plurality. This unity and diversity became the lifeblood of the resistance, fueling a relentless drive to reclaim their world. With newfound unity, the resistance wasn't just surviving, it was evolving. Humanity had always been known for its ability to adapt, innovate, and fight with whatever was available. The invaders had expected a simple war of dominance, a swift conquest where their superior firepower would leave no room for resistance. Instead, they found themselves facing an enemy that was learning, adapting, and outthinking them at every turn. The first major breakthrough came from a surprising source: repurposed alien technology. In the chaos of the invasion, a few of their ships had been brought down, some by sheer luck, others by calculated risk. Scientists and engineers, working in hidden facilities, took the wreckage apart, studying its energy sources, propulsion, systems, and weapons. What they found was staggering: a method to reverse engineer their shields and weapons. The invaders' armor wasn't invincible after all. It operated on an energy frequency that could be disrupted, and their ships, while superior, had vulnerabilities that could be exploited. The second major shift, came from an unlikely ally: artificial intelligence. Before the invasion, AI had been a point of debate, feared for its potential dangers. Now, it became humanity's greatest asset. Quantum-based AI systems were unleashed to counter the enemy's strategies, coordinating attacks, disrupting their communications, and predicting their next moves. The war was no longer just fought on the ground. It was being waged in cyberspace, in digital warfare where humans and machines worked together. Then came the weapons of last resort. Deep beneath classified research facilities, humanity had been developing weapons that had never seen the light of day. Kinetic orbital strikes, railguns, plasma-based weaponry, and even experimental antimatter bombs. Some were still in prototype stages, but with nothing left to lose, they were deployed in full force. The Resistance launched a daring mission, one that would change the course of the war. A team of elite soldiers, hackers, and engineers infiltrated a downed alien dreadnought, reactivating its core systems and overriding its controls. For the first time in history, humans piloted alien technology against its creators. The ship, renamed the Lazarus, became a symbol of defiance, a beacon that broadcasted to the world. We are not just fighting back, we are winning. But victories came at a cost. Every battle won was met with a harsher retaliation. Cities were burned to the ground, entire populations were taken as hostages, and the invaders deployed even deadlier weapons. They realized that humanity was more dangerous than they had ever imagined. This was no longer a simple conquest. It was turning into a war of extinction. The invaders had underestimated humanity before, but now they were about to learn the true meaning of vengeance. The war had reached its boiling point. No longer was this a battle for survival. It was a war for dominance. The invaders had arrived believing humanity would kneel, that fear and firepower would break the will of an inferior species. But instead of submission, they had awoken something far more dangerous, something they had never encountered before, a species that refused to die. With each battle, humanity grew stronger, their tactics deadlier, their weapons more advanced. The Lazarus, the first human-controlled alien warship, had become more than a symbol. It was a declaration. We have your technology now. We understand your weapons, and we will use them against you. More ships followed, as resistance forces reverse-engineered. Downed vessels, developing hybrid war machines that blended human ingenuity with alien precision. Humanity was no longer playing defense. Now, they were taking the fight to the enemy. The decisive counteroffensive. The War Council, a coalition of the world's remaining military strategists, scientists, and resistance leaders, devised a daring plan to strike at the heart of the invaders' operations. Humanity had been on the defensive for too long. It was time to go on the offensive. Intelligence reports suggested that the enemy had established a central command hub on Mars, a massive stronghold controlling their fleets and planetary operations. If humanity could take it out, they could cripple the invasion at its source. The mission was codenamed Operation Hellstorm, a multi-pronged assault involving every last ship, every last soldier, every last piece of scavenged alien technology. The odds were impossible. The enemy had overwhelming numbers, superior firepower, and a fleet that had never been challenged in open space. But humanity had something the invaders did not: an unbreakable will. The attack began with a deception, an artificial energy surge, along Earth's magnetic poles, making it seem as though humanity was attempting to fire an untested planetary weapon. The invaders took the bait, diverting half of their fleet to counter the non-existent threat. It was a trap. As soon as the enemy moved, humanity launched everything they had. Hundreds of resistance ships, some barely held together, others modified, with alien weaponry, screamed through space. Cyber warfare AIs flooded enemy systems, disrupting their targeting arrays, blinding their command centers. Orbital railguns, hidden beneath the ice of Antarctica, opened fire, punching through enemy. Dreadnoughts with tungsten rounds traveling at near-light speed. Human warships, refitted from captured enemy vessels, tore through the invasion fleet, using their own technology against them. The battle was chaos, but it was working. The invaders, for the first time, were on the defensive. Their forces, once so confident, now scrambled to counter humanity's relentless assault. The Lazarus, leading the charge, pushed through enemy lines, its weapons tearing a path straight to the Martian command hub. But this was no ordinary base. It was a fortress, defended by the invaders' most elite forces. The final battle had begun. The moment that changed everything. The fight on Mars was brutal. The invaders deployed their deadliest weapons, biomechanical monstrosities, energy disruptors that shut down electronics, gravity bombs that ripped apart entire squads. But humanity fought with a ferocity that stunned even their alien overlords. Guerrilla tactics, nanite warfare, AI-controlled drones, all were unleashed in a desperate last-ditch effort to bring the enemy to its knees. And then, the breakthrough came. A team of elite human soldiers, enhanced with neural combat interfaces, infiltrated the command center. They didn't just destroy it. They took control of it. In a move of pure genius, hackers reprogrammed the invaders' own planetary defenses against them. The command signal was hijacked, and within seconds, the enemy fleet turned on itself. Ships that had once bombarded Earth began firing on their own allies. Orbital stations self-destructed. The invaders, once so sure of their victory, were now in complete disarray. And then came humanity's final message, broadcasted to every remaining enemy warship, every occupied planet, every outpost where the invaders still held power. You thought we would kneel. You thought we would break. You thought we would beg for mercy. You were wrong. This is our home. This is our war. And now, it's your turn to run. The signal was followed by the detonation of a captured alien superweapon, obliterating the Martian base in a blinding flash of energy. The invasion was over. Humanity had won, but victory came at a cost. Millions were dead. Earth was scarred, its cities in ruins. The war had reshaped humanity forever. And as the last enemy ships fled the system, one chilling thought remained. What if this was just the beginning? What if others were watching? Humanity had survived. But now, the galaxy knew its name. And somewhere in the darkness of space, someone was listening. The war was over, but the echoes of battle still lingered. Earth stood battered yet unbroken, its cities scarred by fire, its skies still thick with the debris of fallen ships. But amidst the devastation, there was something else: hope. The impossible had happened. A species that was supposed to submit had done the unthinkable. Humanity had not only survived an interstellar invasion, but had driven their oppressors into retreat. The galaxy would never see Earth the same way again. Across the world, the remnants of the resistance emerged from the shadows. Once divided nations, long fractured by politics and conflict, now stood as one. Borders no longer mattered. Only survival. Only rebuilding. For the first time in history, humanity was united by something greater than war among itself. They had faced extinction together, and together, they had rewritten their fate. But victory came with new challenges. Among the wreckage of the alien war machine lay technology beyond comprehension. Their weapons, their ships, their genetic enhancements. Humanity now had access to knowledge that could accelerate them centuries ahead, or destroy them from within. There were debates, arguments, even new factions forming. Should humanity wield this power? Or would it turn them into the very monsters they had fought against? The fate of the invaders. The enemy, once so mighty, had been utterly humiliated. Their retreat was not just a loss, it was a disgrace. No species had ever resisted them like this before, let alone forced them into full-scale withdrawal. What would happen to them now? Reports filtered in from deep space reconnaissance. The defeated invaders weren't just fleeing, they were being hunted. Their own kind had turned against them, branding them failures unworthy of their empire. Their armadas, once feared across the cosmos, were shattered remnants wandering the void. Some pleaded for surrender, others vanished into exile, and a few, desperate and broken, sought asylum on Earth, begging for protection from the very species they had tried to enslave. It was an irony too perfect to ignore. The conquerors had become the refugees. And now, humanity had a choice. Would they offer mercy? Or would they do what their enemies would have done? Wipe them out completely. The decision weighed heavy, but the answer came from a voice that had echoed throughout. The war, we are not like them. The prisoners were given a choice. live under human law, contribute to rebuilding what they destroyed, or be cast into the unknown, forever exiled from the system. Many chose to stay. Some even whispered of defectors, aliens who had secretly admired humanity's resilience all along. The war had not just changed Earth. It had changed the galaxy. Humanity ascends. With the war behind them, Earth was no longer just a planet of divided nations. It was the homeworld of a species that had defeated the impossible. And as humanity stood among the ruins, looking up at the stars, a realization took hold. They had been attacked because they were seen as weak. They had been invaded because they were underestimated. Now, the galaxy would never make that mistake again. The fleets would be rebuilt, not just for defense, but for exploration. The technology they had taken would no longer be feared. It would be mastered. Humanity was no longer just a civilization. They were a force. And as the first new human warship, a fusion of Earth's resilience and alien power, lifted off from the ruins of battle, one final message was sent out into the void, where unknown eyes were always watching. We were once prey. Now, we are the storm. If you come for us again, be ready to burn. The end, or the beginning, because now, humanity was coming for the stars.